little lunchtime smoke here. First, well, I did the last couple days. I was east of the mountains, and I did. Edie, come on, you can do it. Uh, so I did smoke over there. First time in a couple weeks, because I'm on like week 3 of the crud here, and I'm better. But it was just a sociable thing to do over there. So, so it was nice to smoke. I didn't feel like, oh my God, inject into the vein, anything like that. Which is reassuring to me because I think really if I was addicted, other than mildly, I'd have to stop. So, anyway, Smokey and Brian Doran. Thank you, Brian. The epitome of thick and stubby. And I'm smoking some McClelland from the classic Oriental series, Black Sea Soakum. Are they really out of business? Is that possible? Oh my gosh. I guess we'll hear for sure at the Chicago Pipe Show. Um, I had the pleasure of being interviewed by Brian Levine of Pipes Radio magazine. And so a little online interview there. That was fun. Yeah, Brian's a great guy. Come on, quit it. Just sit there and meow. So that was a fun interview. We'd been meaning to do that for like months and just couldn't kind of get it together. So finally it happened. So that was good. Um, he was saying that McClelland is done. Wow, hard to imagine. I mean, just a successful enterprise. Great stuff. My favorite tobacco company. We just had more tobaccos that I like to smoke than anybody else. The Frog Morton series. I mean, gosh, it's hard to imagine. You know. Come on over here. Kitty. Come here. Come on. So, anyway, I hope that isn't true. But so I was east of the mountains over the weekend and there for a medical appointment, to be at a medical appointment with a really good friend of mine who was, we thought, going to get a lymphoma cancer diagnosis and staging. So for the last few weeks, we've just been kind of steeling ourselves for that. And then the diagnosis after the lymph biopsy was no metastasis found. Yes! So, yay. Great news, great news. But the interesting thing is that our minds just set us up. I'm sure it's a defense mechanism from way back. But, we convince ourselves in our head that things are going to be a certain way. And then when they're not, you're disappointed or you're left feeling kind of empty. And we both agreed that we were. It's like, oh wow, now we can get back to our lives. I mean, yes, of course, it's excellent news. But that surprising emotion of a little bit of emptiness there, was, our minds are so crazy. So, one of my goals in life is come to be to kind of be able to take a step back from that thinking mind, you know. I mean, it just so screws you up. So, anyway, that's kind of been my takeaway. Is wow, yeah, this Black Sea Sokum is so light and tasty and smooth. This is a few years old though, been sitting in the tin. I don't have much left in this tin. So anyway, we're all back to normal. Yay, that is great. And it's amazing how much energy that takes to be thinking about that all the time, to be saddened by that, to be, uh, you know, strategizing on how we'll do this if this happens, and we'll do this if this, you know, and I mean, it just, my God, it just sucks the life right out of you. It's like the last 3 weeks have hardly happened. You know, I was sick, I admit. I got the crud, but still, our minds. Hmm. Anyway, life is good. Life is good. And there's sunshine here. Yay! On the Rain Coast, that's always reason to be happy. So, yeah, smoking this little bit of maybe the last of my McClellan Black Sea Sokum. Hard to imagine them being gone. This is the Yakima Canyon. There's the Yakima River. The old, was that the Northern Pacific rail line over there? Now BNSF. So this was an interesting trip over here, really short. Smoking that Sant'Ambrogio billiard from Craig. Thank you again. Smoking some Mac Baren HH Vintage Syrian. So, yeah, it's been an interesting trip because, you know, I came over here expecting to have a doctor's meeting with my friend who I expected, you know, them to say, you know, it's lymphoma, radiation, chemo, and it's not, you know. The interesting thing is, I mean, bravo. But the interesting thing is you're left with kind of this empty sense because our minds had jumped to this foredrawn conclusion. And so when that isn't the reality, it leaves you in this kind of empty place. It's so interesting. Just more evidence of the thinking mind and how it controls us, you know, and controls all this space for weeks leading up to this. All this anxiety and concern and pre-thinking what would happen if and what happens then, and ay. Such a creation, you know? It is just such a creation in our minds. Meanwhile, the river just flows. It just flows. It doesn't care. It just is, you know? And that's pretty neat. That is just pretty neat. It's just so amazing that we're so unaware of that all the time, because we're so wrapped up in our own creations, you know?